welcome to my channel. I'm Maureen, and today I have my lovely husband, Mr. Madara.
Hello, everyone.
So, when he's here, we are likely to talking about marriage, relationships, and today we're going to be talking about our expectations in marriage and the realities of it all. So, enjoy.
So today we're going to talk about expectations that we have going into marriage and how we fare against those. But I'm going to approach it from a slightly different angle. Here I'm going to approach it from my perception of the expectations that I believe my wife would have heard coming into this marriage, and how I have fared against them. Against one in particular, which I'm fully aware that I've not done as well as I could have over the years.
Just one?
Well, there's many, but for this conversation, I'll focus on just one. Okay. And this particular expectation relates to the many times over the years when I've inevitably, ended up doing something or saying something which hurts my wife's feelings, and then I fail to then be there. She's trying to work through those feelings and get back to a good space. What, you look like you want to say something?
No, go on.
Yeah.
I'm curious to hear what you have to say.
Okay. Yeah. So again, the expectation here, or at least as I perceive it, which is a totally reasonable expectation, one thing that I would expect a husband to do, is that whenever your wife is not in a good space, that you are there to be with them. And when you are the one who has caused your wife to be not in a good space, then you need to be there even more than if it was someone else who had done that. And so this is a theme which has repeated itself over time, over the many years. And many a time I have failed to come through and be there when I should have, including as recent as this past week, when I failed to be there.
Well, I guess the struggle that you always seem to have is whether to give me space.
Yes.
Or whether to be front and center.
It is a struggle, but I think at least over time, the one thing which I think I've learned, maybe I might get myself in trouble here, but the one thing which I think I've learned is that when you want space, you say so. Otherwise, you would want me to be there.
Yes.
Yeah. Because I know in the past there were so many times when I thought, well, I've already messed things up. The best thing I should do is just give a space and
oh, that never goes well.
Yes, because it just.
Because I'm like, you've messed up, and now you have no intention of fixing it.
Yeah. So I did learn that lesson over this. At least here's one lesson which I learned, at least. of the other many lessons that I failed to learn. This one I learned that when I mess things up, then I should come and be there to help get back to a better space. And so I guess looking at the incident this past week, once again, I ended up hurting my wife's feelings, and I tried to be there. I would say try, because things took a twist, which I did not expect. So the way things took a twist is that as we are having one of the conversations, which was sharing your feelings, I ended up
Fell asleep.
I ended up falling asleep.
And he did not think he fell asleep.
I thought I was up through the whole time. I thought I was up. I fully intended to be up.
He probably thought it blinked and...
Yeah. I fully intended to be up. But
30 minutes later, he was like, I was up. I'm like, like, really?
Yeah. And so I think, and that's not the first time that has happened. It has happened many times over the years. And I think the key difference between this time around and the other times in the past was, in the past I always looked at justification to say, I was tired. My body just shut down and there's nothing I could do about it. But then the realization that I had this time around is that I could have done something about it, like, hey, why don't we get up and go and sit on the sofa and talk while we sit on the sofa?
Well, I guess to be fair, I think over the years, we both had learned not to have serious conversations in bed.
That is true.
Right. And I think my intention was not to have a serious conversation. And then we just started talking and it got serious.
That's right.
So it was, I guess, call it not expected.
That is true. That is definitely true. But all of that notwithstanding, the one thing which again I realized is that at least when things took that turn, I could have said, all right, let's get up. Let's go and sit on the sofa and talk. Just knowing full well that I have this tendency to fall asleep when we're talking when I'm in bed. And so I look at that as no excuses, because in the past I would have been really comfortable in my excuse to say, my body shut down, there's nothing I could have done about it.
But I guess for my part, the worst part was not you necessarily falling asleep, right? It was the one, not realizing
Yes.
you had done it, and then two, justifying it. It was almost like, can you stop talking while you're ahead?
That's fair. That's fair. So that's fair. And again, I will concede that I had full intention to stay up. In fact, once at some point I realized that no, we're now having a serious conversation, and I had full intention to stay up. That's the point where I look back and say, that's the point where I should have said, let's get up.
Yeah, and I always say, intention is not action.
Yes, and that is absolutely true. That is true.
Okay. So how did that end?
Oh, well, so inevitably, it made things worse. Inevitably, it made things worse. Um, and we still needed to have even more conversation, even more conversation after that, and take even more time just to work through things, even more time to work through things.
Yeah, I guess for my part, it just made me realize that at times you put expectations on someone that are so high that they can't necessarily meet them.
Okay.
Like you know who your spouse is, you know who that someone is, and you've set expectations for them without necessarily vocalizing them, and then they're just meant to meet expectations that they have no idea about.
Does that mean I get a free pass?
No. not with this specific one. Because I think I've vocalized it. But like generally, we tend to set these expectations and not tell the person that they are these expectations of them, but then we expect them to meet them, and when they don't, we get so upset, and the other person doesn't know why we're upset.
I think that's fair, and I think I would say one thing that you've done a really good job of is eventually we get to talk, and I get to at least hear why you are upset, and for some things it has taken me years to get to the point of appreciation of why it matters. Some things I would hear why she's upset. I would know that it's dangerous to argue with, even if I didn't think that it was the reasons were valid. But then over time, I think the one thing which I've over the years is I've started to understand more why it actually matters. Some things which I did not have an appreciation of.
Yeah, but I think it also took me a while to get to a point where I could say what I needed from you, right? Without assuming you would or you should know. Because I think the trap that I would fall into was, if you love me, you should know me, right? And you should know what I need when I need it, right? Like expecting you to read my mind. That never that did not end well all the time. Right? Inevitably we'd always come back to the question, so do you even know me?
Oh, we would.
You know, you're supposed to know me. You've been married for such a long time. You're supposed to know this about me. And after a while I realized, you know what, that's unfair. Because if I had to be on the other side of that, coin, I would not want you to view things like that. So I've learned to vocalize how I'm feeling, or if I'm upset about something, or if I'm not happy about something, or if I expect you to do something, right? Do I do it perfectly all the time? No. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think just to add to that, say it's that part has been really helpful in you expressing exactly what it is that you're expecting, because I think the sorts of conversations we find ourselves in are conversations where she's saying, well, in this case, it's pretty obvious that's ABC. And I'm looking and saying, there's nothing obvious about it. There's no way I would have figured it out. It's not obvious. And so I think that part about expressing exactly what it is, it really it helped me a lot to understand exactly what it is you're getting at.
Yeah, so in essence, don't expect your spouse to be a mind reader.
Yes.
Like, you have to lay things out exactly how you want them, or how you're thinking through things.
Yeah, no, I think I would agree with that. I would agree with that. And then obviously after your wife is clearly communicated to you, it's then incumbent upon me to take seriously what she has said, because I think one other pattern which I tend to fall into is that hey, she's communicated clearly something, and she's communicated many times, and then there's the part where it's sort of become familiar, and I then tend to sort of not take it as seriously, and I think those are the times when I find myself going back into those situations where I end up hurting your feelings. Why? Because you'd have made it clear exactly what it is you're thinking, exactly what it is that you're expecting. And even with all that information, there have been many times when I have failed to do what I needed to do as a husband. And I know one that we've talked about over the years, and it's only fairly recently, if I'm to be honest, that started to sink in somewhat, is about love languages. Yes, and I know it's something that we've talked about over the years. The things that appeal to me, or the things that make me feel loved or cared for, are not the same things that make my wife feel loved or cared for. And so we'd have all these conversations, and my wife would share about the things that make her feel loved and cared for. And I would mentally acknowledge them, but then when the rubber hit the road, I would always fall back to a default where I'm going by what resonates with me, rather than the things that she has expressed. And obviously, that always got us in a ditch where I'm going by things that do not mean a lot to. I mean, she still appreciates that, hey, I'm putting effort in something, but then it's still missing the mark by a huge margin. And so I'd say that's one which, if I'm to be honest, it's only fairly recently that I've started to appreciate it at a deeper level.
Yeah, I think that's a big one, and I think that one was always hard for me, because you can see that someone is putting effort, and you're trying really hard to appreciate it, but it really doesn't mean much to you. Right? And you also don't want to hurt their feelings, so it ends up being this loop, right, where you unconsciously encourage the other person to keep doing the same things, where you're like, oh, thank you, oh, I appreciate it, and you really don't.
Yeah, and it can quickly become a vicious cycle. Why? Because I'd be doing something which resonates with me, which means it's something that I totally enjoy doing and would throw in all my energy to do.
Yeah.
And so it becomes this cycle where I do more of the same, which really resonates with me, but not with her.
Yeah, and in my head, I'm like, really? Like, really? Do you not know me? Yeah. But yeah, I've learned to vocalize it. Not in that moment, right? But like, when you're relaxed and just talking about things and you're like, I would appreciate this and this more than, I understand the efforts that you put in, but this is not what gets me the most, I guess, excited. Right? This is what you want, not necessarily what I want.
Yeah.
And it's not an easy conversation to have, especially when someone has put in a lot of effort. Right? Because also you want to encourage them and not deflate them.
Yeah, that is true.
So yeah, just finding words that are palatable.
Yeah, well, I mean, beyond the words are the picking the perfect timing.
Oh yeah, timing is important.
Because I mean, timing is everything. Timing is everything. And also, I think one other important thing that I needed to learn over the years is the ability to receive that feedback.
Right, that's hard.
Yes, because I think I'd say earlier on, any feedback that she'd give me, there was something defensive that would sort of rise up within me to sort of defend, to try to defend me. It's like, hey, you're under attack. You have to defend yourself here. And so I think over the years, just coming to that place of fully appreciating to say, well, my wife is not my enemy. And when we have these conversations, she's not coming in the spirit of trying to, attack me or attack my masculinity. But really, she is approaching this from a hey, let's build up this relationship. And that really took a long time to get to. So it could be feedback with respect to those acts which resonate with me but not with her. It could be feedback with respect to ideas. I like to come up with fancy ideas and want to brainstorm. Some ideas are really horrible, but I think it was really important just to go through that process of being able to receive the feedback and know that, well, she's not criticizing me. She's just giving feedback on the idea. And so I think that was really important as well.
Yeah, I think feedback is hard for a lot of people. It was hard for me. I mean, it's still hard. It feels like a personal attack. Right? You feel like, well, I've put in the effort. So if you don't like it, then I'm not going to do anything anymore. Right? Instead of trying to adjust and say, oh, okay, why is it the way it is? Why does he not like it like this? Default is, well, so I'm not going to do it again. That's it. Right? So, yeah, getting feedback is hard.
Yeah. And also, I mean, I'd consider to say, I'm not saying I'm the master of giving feedback. It is hard for me too. But the one comment you've made over time is you feel like sometimes I'm walking on eggshells.
Yes.
And it's true. and it's true. When I have some feedback that I want to give, I know that how I give it is absolutely critical. So I actually do walk on eggshells because I want to deliver it.
It's funny on my part because I'm like, I think I can take it.
I know. But it's just you can take it, but I just need to make sure that I'm really thoughtful in exactly what I'm going to say and how I'm going to say it. And so it calls for that extra level of care and caution. I'd say, man, I would not give my wife feedback as if I was just talking to one of my friends. That would not go down really well. And so it's really important just to be
I don't know, hey.
careful and cautious.
Well, there are times when I feel like it's easier if you just remove the band-aid versus like bringing it in little snippets and like slowly getting it into it. Is like times I feel like just say it.
Well, I do eventually say it, but I just need to make sure that I'm very thoughtful about what I'm going to say and how.
I guess because I tend to be, okay, I'm just gonna say it for the most part.
And that's totally fine.
So
And that's totally fine. Yeah. But again, the emphasis point there is, when it comes to giving feedback, at least from a husband perspective to their wife, just that needs to be very thoughtful and very careful with choosing your words and choosing how you put those words together.
okay, I'll let it go. Yeah, I've got lots of thoughts on that. But yeah, okay, I'll let it go. Okay, maybe not. I guess I feel like for me, just say it.
Yeah, so I think this is where,
And I guess it's dependent on the person, because I think at times you walk on eggshells because you tend to be like someone who wants to be told in little soft punches until we get to the bottom. Like I can't just be like, I have to choose my words like well if I'm saying something to you. Otherwise you tend to become defensive and shut down. Versus me, I'm more like, just say it as it is. Just say it as you're thinking it. That's why we end up having long conversations, because I'm like, I want to get to the original thought.
Yeah.
Versus the watered down,
well,
like nice vision of.
the only thing I can say is about saying it as you think it is it's absolutely dangerous. Don't do it. Don't do it. You have to let your thoughts run first, and then your mouth follows. Those two should not be running at the same time.
Well, yes, but I'm saying the way you say it, I don't know. Like, don't water it down. Obviously, say it in a nicer way, but don't water it down. Don't water down your thoughts.
That's fair. That's fair. I think that's fair.
Or at least for me, anyway. I don't know. I mean, you know your spouse better than
Yes. Yeah.
What works for me doesn't necessarily work for you. Right.
Yep. No, I think that's fair. But I think obviously all people are different. But I think the main thing there to keep in mind is it can be so easy to hurt each other's feelings, and so you know each other best. I think it's just super important to be really thoughtful and just to be really thoughtful, and not say things in a rush when giving each other feedback.
Yeah, I guess from my perspective of what I thought your expectations were, I made it pretty easy for me. in the sense that I think in our second year of marriage, I asked you to list down the things that you expected of me. So I have a list. I mean, you have a list, but you never look at it. But I have a list that I occasionally open and see if I'm kind of meeting your expectations.
Okay.
So I'm doing great. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, you'll need to help me find the list.
I don't know where you put it. I only have your list. So that's a good, I think, I don't know, conversation to have with your significant other, to just say, okay, what are your expectations?
Yeah.
And really just having that conversation and being honest, right? Don't do the generic expectations of marriage, like the things that you've heard, or say exactly what you want, right? Like if you want, I don't know, plants. Say you want plants, right? Say buy me a plant every month because that's what you want, right? No matter how weird it may sound to the other person, but if that's actually an expectation of yours, then have that conversation, because they're not going to guess that you like plants. Like we had a conversation about like expectation on flowers, right? Like I tend to, I guess, I like plants, right? Because they tend to last longer. But does that mean I expect my husband to get me flowers? Absolutely, right? So that kind of got confused at some point, where you stop buying flowers because in your mind you're like, oh, my wife doesn't like flowers because flowers die. She likes plants. But I'm like, I still want flowers. Like, why are you not buying me flowers? Right? Until we actually had that conversation of, yes, I do prefer plants, but please get me flowers. Not just any flowers. Like, I want nice flowers. Right? So it's something that you would not have figured out on your own.
That is true.
Without having me like have that conversation with you.
Yeah, that is true.
So honesty, being honest, saying exactly what you want is very important.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And I know sometimes it might not be the easiest thing to do. It's gonna take practice. It's like any other muscle that needs to be exercised regularly. Having those honest conversations, and no matter where you are, start wherever you are. Starting with the little things, and then as you get more and more used to it, you get into the big things.
Oh, and another thing to remember is people change over time. Like the me that I was 15 years ago and the you that you were, they're not the same.
Yeah.
Right? And with that, as you change, your expectations also evolve. So it's also important to touch base like often, right? Like this is a conversation I always try to have, not always successfully, but I know every now and then I try to, like, every at least 5 years, sit down and say, okay, where are we? Like, how have we like changed? What are your expectations? Now we do have it often, but I think the more concrete one is like, okay, where are we? It's important to touch base, because what I expected 10 years ago is not what I expect now.
Yep, that is definitely true.
So you don't want to fall in a rut where you're still doing the things from 5-10 years ago, that don't mean anything to that person anymore.
Yeah, that is true.
And then they're looking at you like, don't you realize I've changed?
Yeah, that's true. I guess it goes both ways, eh? So, as the recipient, I think it's also important for you to express in that spirit of honesty, that honest conversation to say, hey, I really appreciate you doing this, but I feel about it differently now than I used to.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's why communication is very important.
Yeah.
Like being brutally honest with each other.
Yeah. That's that should be enough for today.
Oh yeah, the kids are walking around. It's getting really loud.
Yeah, that's fine.
But yeah, just have conversations about expectations, and don't have like flimsy like expectations like the ones you see in the movies. You know, that's not real life, right? Those are hard to meet. Like I always feel like if you can't meet your own expectations, then don't expect somebody else to do it.
Yeah.
Just like if you don't know what makes you happy, then don't expect somebody else to make you happy, because they're pretty much chasing something that you don't know and they don't know.
Yeah.
Right? So be honest with yourselves, be honest with your spouse. Talk, right? You're not strangers. You should be able to talk about anything and everything.
And the last thing I'll say is talking about whether your spouse can make you happy. In the final analysis, I know I have no ability to make my wife happy. Neither does she have ability to make me happy. By happy here, I mean to give me joy. A joy that's lasting all the time in all circumstances. And for that, I know that I get that from God. It's a blessing to have my wife, and it's a true blessing to have her. But if I start expecting that then that she's going to give me joy, then that's the moment that I start piling expectations on her. Unrealistic expectations, because she's 100% human, and in as much as I love her, I know that she's a sinner, I'm a sinner, and so...
That's not my job.
Yeah.
I'm there to enhance your happiness.
That is true.
Right, not to give it
Not to give it, yes. Yeah. And so I think in our case, yes, coming to that foundation where we know that ultimately we don't have the inherent capability to fully give joy to our spouse. It helps in coming up or aligning or putting a check on those expectations where they might become unreasonable. Anyway, that was the last word for me.
Thank you, Mr. Madara.
All right, awesome. Thanks for having me.
Always. Well, not always. But all right, so until next time.